Hey guys, welcome to this episode of The Rachel Cruze Show. In this episode, I have one of my favorite and your favorite guests on. Dawn, aka The Minimal Mom, is back with us. So welcome back, Dawn.
Thanks, Rachel. It's so good to see you.
I know, it's good to see you too. Okay, so I wanted to pick up a conversation you were having over on your YouTube page and your channel, all about this feeling of being behind. And you really hit on this point so well. And I feel like it was such overlap because we talk so much about comparison when it comes to your money and your lifestyle here on this channel. And so as you were talking, I was like, man, this makes so much sense. So when did you first see like that this is a real issue that people deal with?
I think it's actually been as I've been helping women declutter their homes. There's this women are always like defending themselves or justifying like, well, my basement isn't clean because of this, or I haven't made all of the recipes in the recipe books because of this, or I haven't mended the jeans because of this. And don't even get me started on like craft projects, right? And so, but as I thought about it, and I'm like, why don't you just declutter that, right? But they're like, no, I have to get this done. Otherwise, I'm behind and I'm not doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And as I looked at it and I'd step back, because I'm like, how on earth do I help these women see that they can let this stuff go?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like we have this perception that we are so far behind, and our house is telling us this. Instagram is telling us this. Other moms and the things they're doing with their kids that we're not doing is telling us this. But when I stood back and I looked at it, I'm like, Rachel, there's actually very few things that we can really be behind on. Like if we don't pay taxes, okay, there's consequences. If I don't pay my mortgage, if I don't show up to work, like there will be some negative things. But if I don't read the magazines that have stacked up and I don't finish the scrapbooks that I started 4 years ago, it actually does not matter at all.
Yes, that's so good because I do think we put so much pressure on ourselves. So whether you're working or you have friendships or you're a mom, like whatever kind of role you are in life, there's always going to be people around you and beside you who are doing things that you're not doing. And automatically it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I should be doing that too. Or if I don't do that, people are going to be getting ahead. And should I know it sounds so stupid. I feel this with kids' sports already. I mean, I have a second grader, and people think, she's a girl, but the ones that are boys are like, oh, they're doing travel already. I mean, all this stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah. And if you feel like you're behind, so like it can be in so many areas of our lives. And I think it's so interesting how tactically it shows up in your home when it comes to your job as you help people declutter, that you're like, oh wow, I see it. So talk about how you realize like, this isn't a fact. This is just a feeling. It's an emotion we have, but it's not actually true.
I think because in my own life, so we became minimalist about 8 years ago, and we decluttered, 85% of our stuff now. And what happens when you do that physically with all of your things, then you just naturally start to do that with your calendar and with the other areas of your life as well. And so I feel like I'm over here on the other side being like, you guys, it is totally okay. Like I got rid of all the unfinished craft projects. My kids aren't in all the activities. I have not tried a new recipe in months, right? Like, and so I'm like, wait a second. Like we are living, I actually even just asked our 14-year-old this the other day, I'm like, do you feel like, I don't feel like we're missing out on anything. Do you feel like we're missing out? And she was like, no. She's like, I look at some of my friends and they're stressed out. And she was like, why? Like, why?
Yes. It's so good. And I think asking that question is so huge to be like, why do we feel this need? Because people do this even with their stuff, right? Even in my line of work, I'm like, man, they so often can just go into debt just to keep living this life, whether it's, you can put on any category, but whether it's like the way your home looks, how it's decorated, kids' sports, are you doing this? Are you involved in this? Are you doing this? I mean, it's just like there's so much going on. And when you pause and you're like, what if I don't do it all? Like, am I still gonna have a pulse? Like, are we still gonna be alive and be okay? And in fact, happiness, just like you find with decluttering, like the less you have and the less you manage, sometimes there's just more peace in that too. More calm because you're not sitting there and chasing and running around constantly in your life. You actually can enjoy it in the present.
Yes, absolutely. And I know too, anytime we have kids and life will always get busy, it'll get a little overwhelming. But how I look at it now is that it's okay to visit overwhelmed town like once in a while, maybe in the fall when school's getting going again, maybe around Christmas, but we can't live there. It's when we live there and we're there perpetually that's when we not only are we stressed and anxious, but we start to lose hope, right? We can't, I mean, the thought of dreaming when you are just overwhelmed 100% of the time, how can you even, Rachel, getting out of debt?
Yeah.
Like that takes a lot of energy. Like, how can I even entertain that? And then what happens? That just adds to the feeling of being behind again.
Yes.
Right?
No, it's so good. It's so true. It's so true. So how do you help somebody kind of break this cycle as you've been really kind of diving into this subject a little bit and like realizing, oh my gosh, this is a problem. This feeling of being behind is a problem. So how do you find to break the cycle?
I think that if we feel like we are in a place where we've lost hope, I was just reading a fascinating study that said the majority, 70% of moms that were surveyed recently, they feel behind, they feel overwhelmed. 50% of those say they don't even bother voicing it because they don't think it's going to change anything and they don't think anyone's going to listen. They also feel like they should be able to do all of this, right? So if you are feeling defeated and you're feeling overwhelmed, for me to come along and just be like, hey, well, you just got to declutter your house, or hey, you just got to get out of debt. Like, that's not actually that helpful, right? But what we can start to do is we can start to surround ourselves with people that have the same goals as us and who have the lifestyle that we want. So, do you want the same lifestyle as the mom sitting on the bleacher as you? If so, that's great. Keep spending lots of time with them, right?
Yeah.
Or are you like, no, I think I really would like to get my house decluttered, or I do know that getting out of debt would start to relieve this overwhelm and this anxiety. So I'm going to go through my Instagram account and I'm going to unfollow every single person that makes me impulse buy, not makes me, but causes me, leads me in the direction of impulse buying, right? I am going to start following people that are on the debt-free journey. I'm going to follow people that are decluttering things, not acquiring new things. I'm going to follow people that enjoy simple lifestyles, that are okay just spending a whole weekend at home. Like, what would that look like? And so I'm going to start surrounding myself. And what you'll probably find too is that it's cool. We can create this community online, but you're probably going to start to find people in your own context, natural context too, where you could start to find some friends that have these same ideals, and they will start to come around you too as this becomes your goal and your new mindset.
Yes, that's so good. And it's so true because I'm like, as you're talking, I'm like, yeah. And then even asking the question, why? Why do I feel the need to keep up? Who am I trying to please? What am I trying to accomplish? What is the thing inside of me that's insecure, that's needing to like feel okay? You know, why am I doing all this in the first place? Why do I have so much crap in my house? Why do I keep buying stuff? Why? What put us into debt? Why are we in debt in the first place? You know, what are these things? So even that why question of getting to that identity piece, I think is really big. Because like you said, me and you sitting here on our channels being like, be debt free, and you're like, declutter your house. At the end of the day, it's still you, the person. So when you can identify what's going on in you, and then you start partaking in this journey, that's the beautiful thing at the end of the day, because you're like, oh yeah, I'm the one that's going through this. And if I can change even kind of like those icky parts of me that I don't like and identify those and start to heal and become healthier around that, these things like not going into debt for stuff and being able to say no, actually decluttering and not thinking that stuff is going to be the thing that saves me in my life, that I actually can have a lot of peace without it. Like that stuff becomes the byproduct, which is just so beautiful. And then that feeling of being behind, you're like, oh, where was the beginning line anyways? I'm living my own life over here, right? Like I'm not behind anyone because I'm just in my life. And there's just such freedom in that too. So I just think that what you touched on, I think is so great. So one of the things I always hate thinking about, what if something happens to me? What if something happens to my husband, Winston? What's gonna happen to the family? There is a great solution, you guys, that really takes that part of worrying and stress and the not good feeling, kind of puts it at ease. And that is term life insurance. And Winston and I personally use Zander insurance. And they're the best. They make the whole process, you guys, so easy. You give them your information and they go and they shop the top-rated companies for the best policy for you and your family's needs. So no one should go without term life insurance. So go check out Zander Insurance. Just go to Zander.com to make sure that your family's future is taken care of. You mentioned this earlier, but for you specifically, how did you feel behind when you were doing your debt-free journey? Did you have this feeling? Because I think, that, again, it's back to that comparison message, but it's just constant and it always creeps in. And so I think it takes a lot of maturity, and it takes, I don't know, this level of getting above yourself in a way to put the tunnel vision in place to be like, I really am going to not care what people think and really focus on what's going on. So I don't want to feel behind, but it can be so easy to feel behind. So what's some encouragement you have in your own story of if you felt that way, how you kind of overcame that in your debt-free journey?
Yeah, I mean, I can still tell you exactly where I was sitting when Tom and I added up all of our debt the first time that we tried to get out of debt.
Yeah.
And it was over $100,000. I had student loans, we had medical bills, that not including our mortgage, right? Car loans, a business that had failed. We had all the types of debt, and it was so discouraging. But I'm a fairly optimistic person, and so I'm like, okay, we have a plan. We were doing the baby steps, like let's go, right? So that was back around 2010. We didn't get super far that time. I just saw this. So this was hanging inside our wardrobe. It says Operation Lifestyle. The date on it was actually 2018. So this was the time then. This was the third time we started to get out of debt. And this was the time it stuck though. I was just asking Tom about this morning because I'm like, what do you remember about this? And he said, I remember that I thought you were so irrational, like that you had just lost it, that you would actually list out these goals and you thought that we could do it.
Wow.
And as I was thinking about it, I was like, I think that it's very natural that some of us are more pessimistic and some of us are more optimistic. I think it's really important that if you are a naturally pessimistic person, that you find an optimist to link arms with. Like, I don't know if we can do it on our own, and write out some goals, because this hanging in there kept us going. And so it's so funny though now to look at. So it's March 9th, 2018. So 5 years ago. And well, one thing that was kind of funny, I had forgot this was on here. It was that the Minimal Mom YouTube channel would hit 10,000 views. Oh, this is going to make me cry. I didn't think this would make me cry. That it hit 10,000 views by May 1st, 2018. And so, my goodness, like mind blown emoji, like how far we've come in that time. We had on here, Tom really did not enjoy his job at the time. So we had for him to be able to leave his job. Seriously, when I wrote this on here, he's like, Dawn, you're like
crazy. You've
so
lost your ever-loving mind,
field.
Dawn. What are you thinking? And then
yes, for real. Yes. And he, like, Tom is all into trucks, right? Like he has vehicles, all of that. He is on here for him to buy at the time we thought a new truck. But since then we could buy a new truck. Now we didn't even choose to buy a new truck, right? Like he buys used trucks now, even just to be able to start investing in rentals and different things. Everything on here has come to pass since then. And so again, what's so hard is that when we are so overwhelmed, we are so hopeless, right? And so to be able to like even think about writing out something like this, I know like you've tried and it hasn't worked and it feels foolish to even think about that. At some point, we have to say enough is enough. Like I cannot live like this anymore. And we have to be willing to even write a small goal down and to say, buying stuff is not helping. Living in a cluttered house, my goodness, it is not helping. And to just start doing little steps moving forward to declutter and to not buy stuff, which will then help you to be able to start to get out of debt. It is, Rachel, I mean, this
powerful.
Is like the lifestyle we have now is unreal. Like, and it's not, I'm so fortunate, everything that has happened with YouTube and everything, but even if YouTube had not come into our lives, I know we would still be living an incredible lifestyle now because we were willing to put, many things we wanted to buy at the time on hold. Tom, he was reminding me too, when we wrote this, he had sold all his vehicles and he was driving a Prius, and he would get made fun of every day at work. Like, he worked in manufacturing. Like, you drive a cool, like a nice truck. Like everybody there had nice vehicles. And he would say, I would park it up front. And he was like, they would literally like look out the window and make fun of me. And like that we were willing to do that. I look back and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that we were willing to do that. And I know spouses are not always on board. Again, we started this in 2010 and it took till 2018 when we could really get serious about it. but you do what you can do. And it is truly just a matter of time before they come around. And I don't think it'll take 8 years for you either. I think if you're really consistent and you do your part, I think it'll be a lot faster than that.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good though. But it's just the power, like you're saying, of painting what you want for your future. That you're not like just sleepwalking through life day to day, but you actually look out to the future and say, what do we want as a family? Like, let's go after that. And you're proving that point. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And to the encouragement of like, even though those people were making fun of him, what's funny is if you cave to what people are thinking, how you're being perceived, how you're being accepted or not, if that's your motivation in life, that can easily take you down that road of debt. And the truth is that you don't know what those people, those guys, you don't know what car payment they were paying, to pay for those trucks. Maybe, maybe not, but like you don't know. So even that feeling of being behind, you don't see what's going on. You don't see maybe credit card bills. You don't see maybe, what's not in their retirement, or the flip side, maybe you didn't see the sacrifice that they made, just like your family, for years, and now they're killing it, and you're like, well, I want that now without having to do the hard work, and you're like, you didn't see all the years of the hard work and the being made fun of, so either end of the spectrum, it's like, this feeling of like, oh, I'm behind. If you're doing that against other people, it's not a true measurement. So run your race, live your life, have your goals like you guys did. And that's where you start to see, so much peace, that it's like you're not carrying this weight around. And so it's just beautiful. So incredible.
And Rachel, too, I think it's important to kind of remind everyone, like, we're being marketed to all of the time. And so as women, especially when we're trying to take care of kids often and run our households and everything, there is so much marketing saying, this will solve dinner time. This will make you look thinner. This will help you have more energy. This will help you sleep better. This will lower your stress. There is so much. So I know sometimes we look around at our cluttered house and we're like, what have I done? Like, what is wrong with me that I have bought all this stuff and I thought it would make me happy, and we know it's not, right? And I just want to tell you, like, I understand, like, marketing is so strong and they know how to hit us at our weak points, right? Yep. Especially if it has to do with like motherhood and running our households and feeling like a good mom and everything. And so it's okay. It is okay if you have bought things that you regret now. But the only wrong thing you could do moving forward is let that stuff stay in your house, or to keep that buying habit moving forward. Instead, start to declutter. I love decluttering because it almost like creates this aversion to buying stuff again, because you're like, well, that was a lie, and that was a lie, and that was supposed to help me, and that didn't, and that was going to give my hair so much volume, and it didn't, and that was going to make my baby sleep through the night, and it didn't. And you're just like, oh my goodness, like, this is like, it's not true. Like, so much of it is so untrue, but it's okay. Like, it happens and we learn from it. And as we begin to declutter, at least for me, it is so much easier for me not to buy stuff now, because I'm like, I ain't going through that process again. That was painful.
Yes, it's so
that
true.
was horrifying, and I don't want to do it again.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And what's funny is when you start to live without, whether you're sacrificing to get out of debt and you've just cut your lifestyle, or you've chosen like, hey, I'm going to declutter and live a more minimalist lifestyle, you do realize the absence of stuff, like, you're okay. You really don't need it. It's like you almost have to get rid of it to breathe a little bit, to realize, oh yeah, I don't need all the magic potions and all the things for my kids and whatever, right? I don't have to pull from all these areas. I actually am pretty okay without all the stuff. And that's a freeing feeling too. So great, Dawn. Well, thank you for coming on. Honestly, you just always have such great encouragement for people, and even the journey you and your family are walking through. It's literal encouragement, because people are doing the exact same thing, walking your path, maybe a few years behind you. So you're kind of leading that way. So I love everything you stand for in your channel and everything you're doing. So thank you again for coming on. And where can everyone find you?
I spend most of my time on YouTube, so a quick search for The Minimal Mom and I will pop up. Otherwise, theminimalmom.com.
So great. Awesome, Dawn. Thanks so much for coming on. And thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.